Welcome to Westbourne Project Induction. Wharoonga SPD Residential. The site is located at 185 Fox Valley with the Komanara Parkway. The estimated finish of the project is November 2025. The project consists of 186 multi-residential dwellings across 4 buildings with 3 basement levels and associated landscape works. Aims: provide you with information about the minimum requirements acceptable to Westbourne and the project as specified by the client, Seventh-day Adventist Church. Also, to introduce you to the Westbourne way of doing things, best practice. Key personnel: Scott Simpson, Project Manager; Brett Wright, Site Manager; Brandon Saville, Project Engineer; Andrea Rios, Safety Advisor. Site facilities, to be addressed on site. Site entrance. From Komanara Parkway. Site sheds you will find. Site office. Lunchrooms. Change rooms. Female and male toilets. AED, defibrillator. Nurse calls is located. On-site and site sheds as per plan. First aid. Next to the site office. Site notice board are displayed at lunchroom and induction room. No parking on site. You may find a street parking nearby. Working hours. The normal operating hours of work on the project are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. No work on Saturday. No works are to occur outside of these normal hours unless approval has been provided by the Westbourne project manager. Westbourne supervisor must be on site. Safety work method statement to identify working out of normal hours. First aider on site. Adequate lighting if working in darkness. This applies to moving plant and machinery and delivery of materials. Westbourne policies. Westbourne have a number of policies that show its commitment towards health and safety, environmental, quality, return to work and rehabilitation. These policies are displayed on the site notice boards. Every person conducting a business or undertaking must ensure, as far as reasonably has a number of plans in the health and safety of workers and other persons. Environmental a PCBU must ensure, quality plan, as far as reasonably management plan. A work environment these are available without for risk to health and safety. A Westbourne management team member. And structures. Legislations of work. The principal legislation relevant and storage to this project of plant structures and New South Wales. Adequate Work Health and Safety Act 2011. Information. Work Health and Safety Regulation 2017. Monitoring workers' health and workplace Australian conditions to prevent illness or injury. Worker responsibility. Workers must take reasonable care of their own health and safety. Take reasonable care their acts or omissions do not affect the health and safety of other persons. Comply with reasonable instructions from the PCBU. Cooperate with reasonable policy or procedure of the PCBU relating to health and safety. Site rules. Site safety rules are clearly displayed in the offices, crib sheds and other public areas. All personnel are to ensure they read and comply with these rules at all times. Site rules. General prohibitions. Being under the influence of alcohol or illicit drugs. Not using the sanitary facilities provided. Fighting, violence or vandalism of any kind. Bullying, pranks or horseplay. Loud radios, dogs or firearms. Unauthorized persons are also prohibited from entering the site after hours or commencing any tasks without prior approval by the site manager. Entering restricted, prohibited areas. Tampering or interfering with or blocking emergency equipment or any other safety equipment. Reinstating tripped circuit breakers and safety switches. Removing or obstructing safety signs. Removing barriers, penetration covers or guardrails. Bringing children on site. Workers are required at all times to follow reasonable instructions from site management. Specific job safety instructions and control measures written in SWMSs or other safety procedures. Plant suppliers hire safe procedures for operating plant, machinery, ladders, and equipment. Safety breaches. Repeat offenders will be required to undergo reinduction and will be put on notice. Further breaches are unacceptable and will trigger immediate action to safeguard the site or to prevent further breaches. Serious WHS breaches and refusal to follow reasonable instructions will not be tolerated and may result in instant dismissal from site. Safety signs and their meaning. Workers are to follow all safety signs and instructions, e.g. danger no entry means that the area must not be entered under any circumstances, no exceptions. Unsafe, do not operate, or danger do not use, or similar sign or tag on plant or equipment means that it must not be used under any circumstances. A safety sign may save a life. Do not cover or obstruct any signs posted on this site. Any traffic signs and speed limits posted on site must be adhered to at all times. Personal protective equipment. Safety footwear must be worn on this site at all times. Hard hats are to be worn at all times. Safety vest or HIVIS shirt required at all times. Hearing and eye protection must be worn as per applicable risk assessment. The correct type of work clothing and PPE must be worn in accordance with applicable risk assessment. Injuries, incidents, and near misses. All injuries, no matter how minor, must be reported to site management and recorded. All incidents, including near misses and dangerous occurrences, must be reported to site management. Housekeeping. Keep amenity areas clean and tidy at all times. Dispose of rubbish into designated bins. Keep access ways and work areas clear. Do not store materials, equipment in aisles and access ways. Working at heights. Fall protection must be in place where there is a risk to health and safety. Open sides of floors, penetrations, roofs, stairwells, lift shafts must be provided with edge of fall protection. Guardrails used as edge protection must have a kickboard, mid-rail and top rail and must be installed as per the manufacturer's specifications. Do not apply shade cloth unless it is engineered to take additional wind loading. Safety harnesses must not be used without adequate operator training, anchor points, and an emergency rescue plan, if used where risk of fall arrest. Ladders are only allowed for short duration, light work where stability can be maintained, and only if it is not practicable to use other temporary work platforms such as trestles, scaffolds, and elevating work platforms. Do not remove penetration covers. When working on a ladder, make sure platform ladders are to be used. Extension ladders are only to be used to gain access from one level to another. The ladder is suitable for the task and is rated industrial. Using makeshift ladders is prohibited. Falling objects. Always wear your hard hat in designated areas. Penetrations must be covered or have fall protection in place. Stay away from no access and no-go areas. Secure loose material you use such as plyboard, roofing sheets, and offcuts. Do not stack materials close to unmeshed guardrails and perimeter edges. Secure materials against falling or pickup by wind. Alert your supervisor of any falling object hazards. Electrical safety. All electrical tools, leads, plant, and equipment used on site must have an up-to-date test tag and must be in a safe working condition. Use only RCD-protected power supplies. Electrical registers must be provided upon request. Portable lights must be mesh-guarded and suitable for the task. All extension leads must be heavy-duty and to be kept elevated on insulated stands or hooks to protect against mechanical damage and to provide clear access for personnel and vehicles. Do not piggyback leads. Household adapters, double adapters, piggyback adapters, and homemade switchboards or power boards are prohibited on site. All electrical repairs testing must be carried out by a qualified electrician or competent person with applicable training. Plant safety. Workers must not operate any plant or equipment unless it is inducted to site, fully trained and authorized to do so, holding an appropriate HRWL certificate of competency where required. Daily plant checks have been carried out and the plant is fitted with all the recommended safety devices, guards, and signs, and the plant is not faulty. Report any faults to your supervisor. Long hair is fully and securely contained within a hair net or similar when working with or near plant or power tools that have moving parts. Do not remove any safety guards or safety devices. Scaffolds. Scaffolds from which a person or object could fall more than 4 m must only be erected, altered, and dismantled by qualified scaffolders. Scaffolds with a potential fall height of 2 meters or more must have guardrails, midrails, and kickboards. Do not remove guardrails, planks or ladders or alter modify any part of a scaffold. Never use scaffold guardrails to gain extra height or work from improvised platforms such as planks on guardrails or stepladders on decks. Do not climb the bare framework of the scaffold. Do not overload platforms or block access. All platforms and points of access are to be kept clear and unobstructed. Build-up of material or debris must be removed regularly. Mobile scaffolds. Follow the manufacturer's supplier's written instructions for correct erection, use and dismantling. Use only on a hard, level surface and lock wheels, casters, before use. Never move a mobile scaffold unless everyone is off it and all loose items have been removed or have been secured against falling. Trenches and excavations. Must have perimeter fencing, a barrier or cover so that there is no risk of anyone falling in. Must be left secure while unattended. Trenches. Must have 2 points of access egress. Battering, benching and shoring shall start if any vertical element is higher than 1 m. Do not enter unsupported trenches or holes. Do not work alone. Plant not to be parked in zone of influence. Must have a rescue plan in place where excavation is deeper than 1.5 m. Demolition. Prior to any demolition, safe work procedures and SWMSs must be written. Demo plan may be required. The adequacy of floors and supporting structures to bear loads imposed by demolition plant must be verified by a qualified engineer. For demolition of roofs, adequate fall protection must be provided. Hot work. Hot work includes welding, soldering, cutting and grinding metals and must be performed by suitably trained persons. A SWP must be written prior to any hot work. Combustible materials must be removed from the area and suitable fire extinguishers must be available at all times. Nylon vests and flammable clothing is not to be worn. Welding. Check oxyacetylene equipment prior to use for damage to hoses, torch, gauges. Flashback arresters fitted to the outlet side of both fuel gas and oxygen regulators, tested 6 monthly. A suitable fire extinguisher should be attached to each welding and oxyacetylene kit. Tested 6 monthly. Gas cylinders should always be kept upright and secured by chains, even when transported around work sites in a trolley or lifting frame. All arc welders must wear eye protection, welding gloves, and protective clothing to cover all skin as per SOP. Screens must be used to protect other persons from welding flashes. Fume extracting system must be used in poorly ventilated areas. Gas bottles, full or empty, must always be secured. Lasers. Lasers must not be used on this site unless labeled with the class of laser. Only class 1, 2, 3A and 3B, restricted, lasers are permitted on this site. For class 2, 3A and 3B, a trained laser safety officer with a certificate must be in charge of laser operations. All laser operators must have suitable laser safety training. Warning signs are in position at entry points where the lasers are used. Compressed air tools. Compressed air used irresponsibly can cause severe injury or death. Make sure that the following safety rules are always observed. Hose couplings have safety clips. Hose ends are secured to prevent whipping. Shut air off at main valve before replacing tools. Keep all body parts clear of nail gun firing line. Never use compressed air to cool off or to blow dust off clothes, skin or hair or direct at another person. Use compressed air for practical jokes. Kink the hose to cut off the air supply. Explosive powered tools. EPT users are to be under the supervision of a qualified person and all workers must be inducted into the SOP prior to use of an EPT. Before using an EPT, make sure no one is in the firing line of the tool. Eye and hearing protection must be worn by all persons involved in EPT tasks, including persons assisting. Collect all used rounds and dispose of safely off-site. A caution, explosive-powered tool in use sign must be displayed. Hazardous chemicals and dangerous goods. For all hazardous substances or dangerous goods brought on site, subcontractors must provide a full list of the hazardous substances to be used. SDS for each substance. Adequate labeling of all substance containers. SWMS for the use of each substance. Workers inducted into the SWMS and the SDS. Hazardous building materials. A SWMS must be written prior to any tasks involving asbestos. If you find asbestos on site, do not disturb it in any way. Report it to your supervisor. No asbestos is to be removed unless authorized by the site supervisor. Silica dust can be generated from bricks, tiles, mortar, sandstone and concrete, particularly when dry cutting, chasing, sawing, grinding or scabbling. Synthetic mineral fibers, SMF, commonly found in insulation bats, ceiling tiles, loose ceiling insulation, air conditioning duct insulation and pipe lagging. Medium density fiberboard, MDF, chipboard and hardwood products. UV protection. When working outdoors, follow safety measures to minimize exposure to sunlight. Cover as much skin as possible. Wear broad-brimmed hats, or hard hat-fitted brims. Apply broad-spectrum SPF 30+ sunscreen. Wear close-fitting, wraparound sunglasses. PPE requirements. Mandatory PPE must be used while on site. Safety helmet. High-vis vest top. Safety footwear. Task-specific PPE. Must also be used when required. Warning system. Nurse call. When a worker or visitor suddenly needs medical aid, a nurse call system is used to trigger the alert and notify personnel about the emergency. In this instance, it can be easy to panic, particularly if the scene is confronting. A wireless nurse call system is simple to use with a single call button that pushes a notification to the rest of the network that help is required. Westbourne first aiders are aware of the location of each nurse call station. Once the nurse call is pressed, wait at that location. Evacuation alarm. The project is equipped with a wireless emergency notification system that automatically monitors system issues for faults every 6 hours. The signal is manually or remotely activated in the event of an evacuation emergency or drill and sends a loud siren to numerous points scattered throughout the project. When this signal is heard, all personnel are to make their way to the project's muster point for further instruction. The muster point is highlighted on the following slide. Assemble point is located at 187 Fox Valley Medical Center grass area. If site evacuation is required, all personnel must stop work and safely make their way to site exit and wait for instruction on the emergency assembly point. Emergency preparedness. Westbourne have procedures for various emergency scenarios. These procedures are initiated by the Chief Warden and implemented by Westbourne emergency wardens or first aid officers. Those responsible are seen below and also posted on project notice boards and crib sheds. Chief Warden and First Aid, Brett Wright. Fire Warden and First Aid, Brandon Saville. First Aid, Jack Murray. Fire Warden and First Aid, Andrea Rios. Risk Management and Safe Work Method Statement. Safe Work Method Statement. Must be in place for every task. Must be reviewed by Westbourne. High-risk activities, plant and materials must be identified. Must be site-specific. Workers must be consulted and sign onto the Safe Work Method Statement. Safe Work Method Statement must identify the hazard. List the control measure to eliminate or reduce risk. Nominate responsible person to implement controls. No Safe Work Method Statement in place equals no work to start. Incident reporting or first aid. All incidents are to be recorded and reported to your manager as soon as practicable. Muscle strain sprain injuries are to be reported immediately. Research indicates that the sooner you get treatment for a muscle injury, the sooner you will feel better. All near misses or similar are to be reported to the site manager as soon as possible. Do not disturb the scene of an incident unless authorized by site management. First aid facilities are clearly labeled and a nurse call available. A list of first aiders for the project can be found on the notice boards. No person is to leave the site for medical treatment unless they are accompanied and the safety advisor has been informed. Investigation will be carried out and suitable controls implemented. The incident scene is not to be disturbed until all the investigations have been completed. Your supervisor must be notified immediately of all incidents, injuries, dangerous occurrences, near misses and environmental incidents. Visitors. All visitors must sign the visitor registration on Build Pass by scanning the QR code at the turnstile gate and complete a visitor induction. Visitors onto the construction site must have all relevant site safety rules explained by a project-inducted person. Remain with their fully inducted host at all times. Wear the mandatory PPE helmet, safety boots and high-vis vest. Construction hazards are falls from height, electricity, mobile plant, traffic and vehicle movements, hazardous chemicals, excavations and trenches, services, underground and overhead, noise, manual handling, lips, trips and falls. What can be done to maintain safety? All services must be treated as live at all times. Permits to work are required from Westbourne before starting work on site. Excavation and trenching, harness work, hot works, confined space, services isolation, formwork stripping, cutting and coring. Permits are to be site-specific and held by each and every operative. All operators and spotters must undertake work in accordance with Westbourne permits and limitations at all times. Safe work method statement must be read, understood, and signed off before commencing work. Working at heights. Working at heights must be done strictly as per the hierarchy of controls. Carry out the work from the ground or on a solid construction. Where this is not practicable, the risk of falls must be minimized by providing a fall prevention device. This includes a secure fence, edge protection, working platforms and covers, or providing a work positioning system, or providing a fall arrest system. Work positioning and fall arrest systems are a last resort. Additional training requirements apply. Scaffolding. All scaffolding will be erected by a competent person and have a SCAF tag serving as a certificate that the structure is safe to work on. There is to be strictly no erecting, altering, or dismantling of scaffold components unless it is done under Westbourne instruction. Subcontractors, other than the engaged scaffolding contractor, caught altering scaffold will be subject to immediate dismissal. Mobile scaffolds will be built in accordance with manufacturers' suppliers' instructions. Vehicle movements. Access to site is only permitted using the designated entry and exit point, and under no circumstances are you to enter or leave the site through any other point such as private property. Delivery vehicles are to load or unload in designated construction zones or an excluded area. All reversing vehicles are to be guided until stopped. Equipment used in the interest of personnel and vehicle separation must be adhered to at all times. Mobile plant. All plant and equipment must have check on arrival by Westbourne, daily inspection by the operator and pre-start completed, maintenance records and OEM manual. All plant operators to hold required competency and acknowledged via signature the plant risk assessment. Implements such as blades and buckets must be grounded, lowered when not in use or when the machine is left unattended. Exclusion zones erected in the interest of plant personnel separation must be adhered to at all times. Slips, trips and falls. Good housekeeping must be maintained in the workplace at all times. This can be achieved by placing waste products in the bins provided and stacking materials. Waste materials must be cleaned up as the mess is made. Please clean up your own mess. Amenities, lunchroom, toilets and showers must be kept clean at all times. Electricity. Power tools and leads must be inspected and tagged 3 monthly in accordance with relevant standards. All leads must be either elevated at least 2 meters above the work surface or routed in a safe manner. Leads must never be strung on metal objects. Use insulated stands or hooks. Leads must not be joined together, piggybacked. All tools and leads must be protected by a residual current device, RCD. Hazardous chemicals. A safety data sheet, SDS, must be made available for all chemicals and substances brought onto site. Copies of SDSs must be readily available. Materials classified as hazardous must be risk assessed. Users trained in safe use and handling of the material as per SDS, a copy will be attached to the SWMS. Chemicals must be stored in their original container and only decant for immediate use. Spill kits must be available. Noise. When required, hearing protection must be worn. These may include muffs, plugs. An easy guide is when you are 1 m apart and are required to speak in a louder than normal voice to be heard over plant. Hearing protection is required. Drugs, alcohol and smoking. The consumption or sale of drugs or alcohol on the project is strictly prohibited. The Westbourne drug and alcohol policy is displayed on the notice boards for all to see. Drug and alcohol testing may be conducted at Westbourne discretion and applies to workers, supervisors, contractors, visitors. Occasions for testing: planned, random, for cause. Smoking is not permitted in enclosed, unnaturally ventilated areas. Thank you and stay safe.